Whenever you pass a dustbin and it smells, know that nobody has segregated it. That's why it's smelling. It's not smelling because waste smells. Waste smells when people at source don't segregate it. So when I talk about non-recyclable plastic, you can think of anything that has a silver film inside. All your protein bars that you get, they're all non-recyclable. What happens to that if it's not collected? You see it on the road. That's why you see so many of it on the road. Why do you not see so many milk packets on the road? Because there's value attached to it. Why do you not see plastic bottles on the road? Because there's value attached to it. They get picked, they go and get sold, they get paid for it. There is a proper market rate to sell it. Can you tell me, when I say waste, what comes to your mind? Everyone that felt like waste is dirt, sickness, disgusting, I want you to take one step back and think of waste as a resource. If you segregated it correctly, waste is not dirty. It can be reused. It's dirty because it's mismanaged. It's dirty because wet and dry come together, and wet makes dry dirty or soggy. Whenever you pass a dustbin and it smells, know that nobody has segregated it. That's why it's smelling. It's not smelling because waste smells. Waste smells when people at source don't segregate it. Now, have you ever thought about where your waste ends up if it's not disposed of responsibly? And from this, I mean, if it's not divided between wet and dry, where do you think your waste goes? Do you feel every one of your waste goes to a landfill? Do you feel it may be going somewhere else? I don't know. I'm just throwing a question for you to think, because some of you may be segregating. So maybe you're more mindful than someone who's not. So where do you think it's happening? What's happening? Yes, it does go to recycling centers. Do you think anyone in the your ecosystem, like the kachra wala, is segregating and selling it so they are able to get money out of it? Do you think that's happening? Yes, correct. I want to show you a little video that got our founders do what they do today to make change. I feel like there's a pivotal moment in everybody's life in whatever they do today that was caused because something within them got triggered and they decided, I need to take action.
बीती रात मुंबई के देवना डंपिंग ग्राउंड में आग लग गई। आग इतनी भीषण थी कि दूर से ही लपटें दिखाई दे रही थी। कूड़े कचरे की वजह से आग तेजी से फैलती चली गई। जानकारी मिलने पर फायर ब्रिगेड की 10 गाड़ियां मौके पर पहुंची। काफी मशक्कत के बाद फायर ब्रिगेड ने आग पर काबू पाया। आग लगने की वजहों का खुलासा नहीं हो पाया है। कुछ दिन पहले भी इसी डंपिंग ग्राउंड में आग लग गई थी और पुलिस ने अज्ञात लोगों के खिलाफ मामला दर्ज किया था। बार बार आग लगने की वजह से आसपास के लोग बेहद परेशान हैं। लोगों ने प्रशासन से डंपिंग ग्राउंड कहीं और शिफ्ट करने की मांग की है।
This fire that got caused, they could see this even from space. If you go down to the Devna dumping ground fire, this was also covered by New York Times, Washington Times, because the fire was that big. We can't see it, but the problem exists. This is going to be a little relatable to everybody, but the estimated size of a landfill in India by 2030 is going to be the size of Bangalore. It looks small when you show it on a map, but I can't even bear to imagine if Carbon Park was filled with trash. I just can't. How many of y'all have different bins for different kind of waste? I also tell you all that I've noticed something, that maximum people down south have a better sensibility of segregation than those in the center and up north. I have seen this through the due course of time, and I feel like so much of this has to do with how the generations before you all have also maintained this, and everyone has taken it ahead. Somehow, if you go up north, you go to UP, even Bombay for that matter, the sensibility or the understanding of recycling is not something that gets passed down to us. I don't know why. I know how much of it has been a fight in my own house with my own parents. So I'm going to break down bins today. There are multiple bins in different parts of the house. However, there's dry, there's wet. Everything that is wet, be it food, be it peels of your fruits, a wet tissue goes in the wet bin. a dry tissue goes in the dry bin. Now, when I say dry, I mean everything. Even your yogurt cups, you wash it and you put it in dry. If you don't wash it, understand that nobody recycles it ahead. They do not recycle it ahead. If you do not wash your Tetra packs in which you get your Amul milk, Amul cream, after you're done, and I feel like this is so Indian, we anyway put little water and kind of like put it back in the food. That actually helps the recycler ahead. The only thing that I feel that people may or may not be thinking about is that everything that comes from your body, your hair, your nails, anything from your nose, your earbuds, they all go in reject waste. Anything that comes out of your bathrooms, the toilet especially, your sanitary waste is all going into reject waste. The minute you put your sanitary pad in your dry waste, the dry waste is not touched because them also that's unhygienic. It doesn't work for them as well. So that becomes a little difficult. That's why you keep that different. Even if you can do a small favor and buy a red tape and tie it around your bathroom and body hygiene product waste, it works. A little about Recircle, guys.
What most people see as waste, we see them as resources. We are on a mission to ensure resources are not wasted.
At Recircle, we tap into the hidden potential of waste, converting them into a social currency that promises a better world. We're doing this by developing a traceable and ethical reverse supply chain for waste.
We use technology to track plastic waste from collection till processing.
The material that flows through our supply chain is then sold as plastic credits to businesses to help them go plastic neutral while curbing plastic pollution. The material we gather, thanks to our dedicated collection partners, are directed to registered plastic waste processors. This ensures that each piece of plastic embarks on a new journey, steering clear of both landfills and oceans. Some of the world's most progressive brands choose us for their extended producer responsibility needs, launching plastic neutral initiatives, establishing near zero waste workspaces, orchestrating zero waste events, and driving impactful sustainability projects. At the heart of our traceable and ethical reverse supply chain for plastics lies ClimaOne, Recircle's proprietary tech platform. ClimaOne offers end-to-end traceability for plastic credits, reporting for compliance, live data tracking, and more.
Impact is deeply woven into our fabric. Our primary measure of success is the waste diverted from landfills and oceans. Currently, we're recovering over 10,000 kgs of waste every hour, every day, sourced from 300 locations across India. Equally significant is the human impact we create. Over 2,500 informal waste workers benefit through improved livelihoods, better working conditions, and increased incomes from our initiatives. In our pursuit of ethical circularity, we're not just planning for the future, we're making tangible changes now. By tracing materials back into our partners' supply chain, we're reintroducing them as ethically sourced recycled plastics, ensuring businesses to make sustainable choices and effectively closing the loop.
Every choice we make today echoes in the future. With Recircle, make a choice that resonates with hope, sustainability, and renewal. Together, let's turn our vision of a waste-free world into a shared reality. Rethink with Recircle.
What we were actually sort of segregating in our heads, the type of wastes: wet, dry, reject, wet, dry, and reject. Coffee grounds, tea leaves, garlands, puja flowers, liquids of beverages, food leftovers, dairy waste, all of these are wet waste. Dry waste, paper, plastic, glass, metal, e-waste. Clean, dry waste. The minute you're going to throw your earbud and nails and hair with the Amazon parcel, know that the Amazon parcel is not getting recycled, the outside box. For example, this box, if everyone can see it, if I put this with my makeup remover cotton pad or I put oil over it, they will not take it because these are different items. They are not supposed to be considered to be together. Most of the time, we end up losing product to get recycled because we don't know how to segregate. Does anyone have any particular waste in their head that they think, okay, I don't know where this falls under? I saw broken glass. Broken glass will go under reject waste because it's difficult to anyways recycle that. A whole glass can go under dry waste, but broken glass will go under reject waste. Empty curd packet, once you put some water and rinse it off, please put it in dry. Thermocol is actually reject, it doesn't get recycled at all. Styrofoam is non-recyclable. Batteries are reject. Everything that comes out of your bathroom is reject waste. Anything that comes from our body, nails, hair, these cotton swabs, earbuds, everything. Notebooks, newspaper, everything is dry waste, all dry waste. Everything that can be reused again is dry waste. Everything that can become compost is wet waste. Everything that should not be touched goes under reject. Do you know mattresses are non-recyclable? All the mattresses that we sleep on, all the bigger brands that have come and they're selling mattresses at 10,000. When was the last time you asked why 10,000 rupees? Because there was a point when parents paid a lot more than this. A couple of years back, we paid a lot more for this. But that's why we were okay to pay that amount because they lasted a long amount of time. Right now, mattresses are for 12K, 10K. Nothing inside the mattress is recyclable. That's why. It's one time. It's a linear curve. You use, throw, use, throw. Thermocol can be converted into glue, but I know what you have to think is that how wide and fast, how many people are doing it. There are more people making plastic than converting thermocol into glue. So it doesn't work if you think from that lens. It's very difficult. Silicon gets recycled more from a perspective of it gets melted and it gets created into a different product, but only for one more life. It doesn't have two lives. Expired food, remove it from the container, put it in wet. It'll get composted because compost doesn't think of one thing to the other. And the packet you go into dry. I want her to tell me which products come to your mind, single use or non-recyclable plastic. Milk packets are recyclable, Nikhil. Water bottles are recyclable. Chip packets, your Lay's. Lay's is non-recyclable. Anything that has a silver film inside is non-recyclable. 5-Star, Cadbury, all are non-recyclable. Great packaging when it comes to rice, wheat, all are recyclable. Please save those packets. There is value attached to it in the market. Any of the waste pickers get it, they actually sell it and get value out of it. So when I talk about non-recyclable plastic, you can think of anything that has a silver film inside. All your protein bars that you get. These days you get, you go to Starbucks and they give you these nuts in a small packet. They are all non-recyclable. What happens to that if it's not collected? You see it on the road. That's why you see so many of it on the road. Why do you not see so many milk packets on the road? Because there's value attached to it. Why do you not see plastic bottles on the road? Because there's value attached to it. They get picked, they go and get sold, they get paid for it. There is a proper market rate to sell it. That's why you have rack pickers. You and I can pick it up and go to a MRF center and get paid for it. Literally. So that's never been a problem. The problem is that non-recyclable plastic doesn't have value attached to it. That's why you will see your Pan Parag, those gutka ones, the small packets all on the road, on the corners. You will see chip packets, chocolate packets. You'll always see things with a silver film inside on the road predominantly because those are non-recyclable items. When we get it, we bale it, shred it and send it to cement plants to convert it from waste to energy. Instead of coal, in that cycle, the cement factory helps us burn wet waste, expired beverages, food leftovers, coffee grounds, vegetable fruit waste, garlands, puja flowers, everything can go into composting. Daily Compost does beautiful compost bins to compost and make your own compost. If you can't, just segregate it, separate it aside and do it. But if you have the time, the place in your house to do composting, you're basically going to be making good compost in your house for your plants, or you can even put it in your societies. This is the life of wet waste, transportation of wet waste into material recovery facility, sorting, conveyor belt, crusher, grinder, biodigester, scrubber. I mean, some of these things may sound like big words, but know that they are just processes to ensure that the compressor churns out compost, fertilizer, cooking gas or CBG. So basically the intent is that when wet waste happens at a larger level, this is the possibility. When wet waste happens at a smaller level, that is at source, you can make compost, the first one, out of it. Reject and hazardous waste. cleaning agents, batteries, expired medication, styrofoam and thermocol, paints and solvents, sanitary pads is your reject waste. Your medication can be thrown, the bottle can be recycled, if that's clear. Cleaning agents, liquid gets thrown, outside can be recycled. This is something that we've just started, like we mentioned, and we were in our phase 1 where we have maybe renamed a few things the way we envision it and the way we received textile waste from everybody. So Project Extra Life is here to basically create another life, or maybe 2 or 3, we don't know now, but like the intent is to sort of keep it in the economy and keep it going and keep seeing how we can do different layers of it. We collect, we sort and segregate. It moves into either those clothes can be reborn, revamped, recycled, or there could be another life of it. We have currently collected over 10 tons textile waste, which has only been predominantly from Bombay, and we've had 1 lot come in from Pune. We're hoping this year is going to be a very big learning curve for us to understand how this entire field works, how is it managed, and how we can take this ahead. Now, this is what it looks like for metal to, when you recycle it, what it becomes and then what it becomes. Why is it important for recyclable items like plastic, paper, cardboard, glass, metal to turn into granules and re-become a product for its next life? What we're trying to say is that when we started this conversation, waste was dirty, filthy, it had pollution. It has all of this because it's not disposed responsibly. You will always feel that about waste. The day you start responsibly disposing it, you will never look at waste the same way again. For us, waste is always going to be a resource. It's fueling lives. It's fueling my life also, right? Today, the fact that we're sitting here, all of us, and talking, it sort of gives you such a big validation that waste is not dirty and filthy. It's actually a resource that can fuel lives. Upcycling. Upcycling is basically taking our old products, cutting, crushing, and making new products out of it. Downcycling. What is downcycling? I don't know if you all have ever thought about it, but sometimes you can't create the same value. A book cannot create a book again, right? A book will end up creating either a cardboard further can become a tissue paper roll, and that's how it gets degraded in the supply chain also. Everything cannot become its equal product, but it can give it 3 lives. The quality of a book can make it a second use for cardboard for the covers, I mean the cover for the outer covers, and that can further go into when your Amazon parcels come in, they can further go into becoming tissue paper rolls, they can go into becoming even your kitchen paper rolls, etc. It's how you process it. It's less of value, but it is value where it is required. It's full value. So don't look at it as bad. For the work it needs to do in its own territory, it does the work. So what I want to say is that the impact we create, and when I say we right now, I feel like it's everyone in the room also, is that every effort you're doing towards segregating correctly, you're actually increasing jobs and fair wages that go to waste pickers. Your environmental impact is automatically increasing. You may not see it, but it is happening. Your social impact that you create by formalizing the sector and thereby helping them rebuild their infrastructure and getting better at waste management. When we started creating plastic, we were in a linear economy, and that was okay. It did not matter. This sector did not have much importance. Waste pickers were looked down upon, because they were like, oh, why would you do that job? Today, with waste becoming a problem, this sector needs to be uplifted or they are not going to perform. And if they don't perform and they are not motivated, they are not treated right, they are not paid right, I would like to say that they will not do what they're doing. It doesn't take a lot of time these days for someone to not do waste picking and go and do a Swiggy and Zomato delivery, or learn how to drive a car and maybe do something with Uber and Ola, or do the last mile for Dunzo. Why would they want to pick up your and my waste? So either we do it right, we constantly do it so as to make even their lives better. So it's time to take accountability. There's 8 million tons of plastic bottles. 73% of the consumers are eager to change, which is very, very good. 150 million metric tons of plastic have been polluting the oceans, and 200 billion in economic value could be unleashed if we went to a circular economy. I feel like all the numbers you see when it comes to lifestyle products, food products, fashion products are nowhere reaching $200 billion. So, what's stopping any one of us to actually make an impact in the sector? Our backbone. These women have been our backbone through the course of time. We've impacted and are continuing to impact over 3,100 lives. 95% of each offset is used at ground level in an endeavor to improve lives, livelihoods, and the dignity of labor. Yeah, our Safai Sathis, we don't call them waste because, rack because, nothing. They're all Safai Sathis because if you don't have that companion to help you solve your problem and you can't respect that, it's never going to work out. A little from them, about them, on how their last year was.
मेरे बेटे का शादी किया है और थोड़ा बहुत सैलरी जमा भी किया है जो घर बनाने वाली हूँ।
बैलेंस जो जमा किया है कि 4 महीने के बाद मेरी बेटे की शादी है, 3 बच्चों की पढ़ाई, घर थोड़ा बहुत चलाया।
पैसा इकट्ठा करके मेरी बहन का अपना शादी कराया।
रूम का भाड़ा हो गया, राशन पानी हो गया, दवाई हो गया, 3-4 लड़के पढ़ते हैं, उनका फीस हो गया, कापी किताब का हो गया।
बच्चे लोग का आगे के लिए वो लोग के लिए ही मतलब सोच रहे हैं।
मैंने एक लड़की शादी की है और अभी 1 साल बाद दूसरी लड़की शादी।
So I feel like we sometimes forget what that money that gets paid in formalization and equal pays to waste pickers can do even for their lives. How that can be an economic standpoint for them and how they can grow and how they want to continue doing this work. I feel that's so important. But yeah, this is all of what we do at Recircle. This is all of waste management, and more than anything else, I feel waste segregation at source has allowed for this. It's not only what we do with brands. I feel like a lot of this work is also, in a day we get 4 BMC trucks that come to us, and if they're segregated well, they are able to segregate more in a day because every one of them gets paid via amount of kgs they sort of segregate also. That's how Safai Sathis gets paid everywhere. So if we segregate our waste correctly, they receive it correctly, you can imagine how much more they have a capacity to sort of grow economically. I believe the greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. We are someone else. There is no someone else. Someone else is handling it for us, but it is only us. There is nobody else.